mentioned schedules a couple times on this show because you are Mr. Schedule. Tell me, do you have any other scheduling thoughts to think about?
I'm Mr. Schedule because I take off that mask and I'm Mr. Matchups, basically. Yeah. So, look, I mean, we know more now. We didn't know anything at the beginning of the year. It's easy for people to look at schedules of success rates of last year and say, these are the good teams, these are the bad teams. We kind of know right now who's good right now and who's bad right now. So, look, I mean, teams that are kind of emerging a little bit offensively. Tennessee was great yesterday. And the Cardinals were pretty good. They played well. They played Mahomes tough, but they were able to do well offensively. I think Byron Leftwich is probably doing some good things in Arizona.
Had a great game. It's good to see.
Had a great game. And look, I'm not saying New England's defense is good either because we know that the Chiefs' defense sucks. We know that the Patriots' defense kind of sucks. But just to look at the Titans, they had a very tough schedule early on. They played Houston, they played Jacksonville, they played Philly, Baltimore, and the Chargers. Not easy defenses. Mariota was injured. So, you know, what are you supposed to expect from that? You know, I mean, not only is he not injured right now, he seems to be looking better, but their schedule is a little easier going down the stretch right here. Yeah. And the same thing could be said for the Cardinals. I mean, they played the Redskins, they played the Rams, they played the Bears, they played the Vikings, and they played the Broncos. Those are all pretty tough defenses in the beginning of the year. So, and they had some quarterback issues, and now it seems like their schedule is a little better going forward. And I mean, we haven't seen the Giants because they played tonight, and it's tough to say Eli is going to do much better, but they had a very tough schedule to start the year. I mean, I'll just say the Jacksonville, Dallas defense, Houston, Carolina, Philly, and Washington, which is a very good defense. So their schedule is a little better too in the second half. So look, I mean, if you're looking for trade candidates, you could look for some of these players. I mean, I know some of them went off yesterday, so maybe a little tougher, but it just goes to show that fantasy is really about the matchups. It's about, you know, schedules do make a difference, especially down the stretch here. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think also it's just, I think teams generally end up, I mean, there are always surprises every year, but let's say like 26 of 32 teams generally end up around where you thought they would be, you know, give or take an injury, give or take a bad bounce here and there. And I think the reason why we lose sight of that during the season is because we tend to approach it like they'll be that way every week, but it's not like that. It's a long season. There's ups and downs. These are real people doing something. This is not just, you know what I mean? And so it's like you have and we can't know these things and we can't know how to manage them necessarily, but we have to know that there are good days and bad days. There are good stretches and bad stretches. And like, we got to get out of this mindset of every time we see a team play, we decide this is who they are and how they are for the rest of the season. Like, you got to stop it. You got to just, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just, I think that's all it is. That's all it is. Like your point, and I think I'm picking, my point that I'm picking from yours is, matchups matter, but you gotta ride it out, man. You gotta you can't be so reactionary, you know?
For sure. I mean, a juicy match. Like a juicy matchup it seems nice, but also it depends on what's happening in the game, right? So, I mean, look, we all thought that Crowell would have a monster game yesterday. The Bills went up. And the Bills defense isn't exactly nothing either. So maybe that's not the best example. But at the same time, it's hard to tell. Like, you know, the Redskins were playing the Bucs yesterday. That game total was 50.5 or 51.5. Yeah. So, I mean, geez, I mean, that game ended up way under that total. I'm pretty sure it did. So,
You gotta be Socrates. You gotta know that you know nothing, and thus build your team prepared for everything. You know. Going back to the Titans, though, one thing I wanted to ask you about is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry looked good, like legitimately good. He was like 11 for 55, something like that, 11 for 58, whatever. He didn't have like any one long run obscuring that. He was like, I think his longest rush was about like 14 yards, which means he was just consistently getting chunks, and he got a touchdown. And there are a lot of people out there who counted on Derrick Henry as their RB2 and have not had one, have not gotten that from him. And some of those teams, some of those GMs have moved on and replaced him in their lineup, but others still haven't. And I'm wondering, is Derrick Henry, if you're desperate, is it, I'm not suggesting Derrick Henry you would trade for him if you need an RB2, but would Derrick Henry be enough for you to, like, if you're just trying to find somebody off the waiver wire or from your bench, is Derrick Henry in that category? Is Derrick Henry a reason to maybe not trade for an RB2?
No, I think Derrick Henry is an RB2, RB3 right now with a little more confidence because he seems to be a second half of the year running back. I mean, I'm not sure like what his carries were yesterday, but the Titans were winning. And I was seeing Dion Lewis a lot early in that game. So Henry could have been the closer in the second half. I'm not sure of the 11 carries, but he definitely looked good. He seems to be thriving when the season is coming in the back end and maybe things are getting a little tougher down the stretch. But I would have confidence. Yeah, I would. I think I would like Henry even more than Jordan Howard a little bit for the second half.
Okay. So let me ask you this then. In a purely hypothetical, let's say you're faced with the option of just kind of rolling with Henry as your RB2, or giving up whatever it may take to get an RB2, but the RB2 that's available to you is Leonard Fournette.
Oh, I mean, I would hold on to Fournette for sure.
No, I'm saying, so like,
oh, sorry.
I'm saying if I have an opportunity to get Fournette, is Fournette a worthy upgrade, or should I just hang on to Henry and like take my chances?
That's a good question. I'm
giving up next year assets. Let's say my lineup stays about the same, right? I don't have to like hurt my lineup at one position to get better at another, right? Let's say I can gain Fournette, but give up fantasy assets, possibly including Henry, or I can hedge my bet and just go with Henry.
Yeah. Okay. So I would invest in the assets to have Fournette for the rest of the season. Yes, I would. Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, Lewis is still there; he's not hurt yet. And Henry is still rotating, and Fournette's the man right now. So I'd rather have the guy I know that's going to be the man, and I'd rather invest in that, whatever. Even if it's trading away a couple assets. Yeah,
that's a good point. That's something to think about.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get more specific about this hypothetical off air, and we can talk about it.